into Scotland for the sixth and final stage, 157 kilometres from Dumfries to Glasgow through the rolling hills of the southern uplands. The usual 3 hotspot sprints are interspersed with 3 Category 3 climbs before the downhill run into Glasgow for a city centre finish on the banks of the River Clyde. So the stage starts in the royal borough of Dumfries on the banks of the River Nith, known as the Queen of the South. During the stage, the riders will pass the historic Drumlanrig Castle, one of southern Scotland's most popular visitor attractions. Glasgow was the host town for the start of last year's Tour of Britain. Now we're back for the grand finale. After 6 days of blue skies, I'm afraid to say the weather has finally taken a turn for the worse as we arrive in Scotland. And it'll be interesting to see how the conditions affect things as the race reaches its climax here in Glasgow.
Well, these are the 89 survivors just preparing to start the final stage of the Tour of Britain, which will take them from Dumfries here in Dock Park through to Glasgow, a distance of 96 miles. And it is going to be an intriguing stage, this. The closest winning margin ever came in 2005 when the Belgian Nick Noyans pipped the Dane Michael Blaudsen by a scant 8 seconds. But this is likely to be very much closer than that, because as we start the stage, there's only 1 second separating the overall leader, and that's Palomares from his nearest challenger, and that is David Blanco. And then at 3 seconds is the Frenchman Romain Fayou, and he is a big sprinter, and it's surely going to play into the hands of the sprinter today, because he'll be licking his lips at the thought of picking up a 3-second bonus at one of the hotspot sprints. Well, there are dreary conditions at the start here as they pedal out of Dumfries. There's rain in the air and it is quite windy. And right on the front, as they get to the edge of the starting town, is the team of Fuerteventura Canarias, and they've got a real job in their hands today to contain the attacks.
Here you can see the riders starting already. They're all wearing their winter clothes. It looks like winter's here already, Hugh. Gloves, overshoes. You know, they're tired now, so they're going to be trying to keep themselves as warm as possible just to conserve the energy for later on.
Hugging the right side of the road here, and the speed's already high. And as Rob said, 1 or 2 got the racing capes on, and the long sleeves are in evidence. That's Pete Royackers, who's been a strong challenger throughout the race for the hotspot sprint. There is the leader on the green jersey, and that is Romain Fayou, and he's starting to move near the front now, and he's obviously never going to let a trick develop here without him being involved. This is the little group that have slipped away for the first climb today. This is Clove Head. It's a third cat, so there's only 4 points for first, and Ben Swift is pretty safe in the lead in the King of the Mountains. But this is young Andy Tennant of the Great Britain team on the front, and he's a former World Junior 3,000 metre individual pursuit champion, comes from Wolverhampton. Back of the field, they're beginning to stretch out a little bit here. Nobody's taking much interest in this little group that's trying to go away. Young Tennant was there. Tom Stuber was also up there, and I think the other member of that group looked like Zach Dempster, the rangy Australian, who's been very prominent in the competition of the hotspot sprint. And the leaders have gone through the summit of the climb, and news coming through to me was young Andy Tennant actually just tucked in at the back of the group there that picked up the points, and it's confirmed. Tennant for 4, Contrini then got the 2, and then it was Stuber and Dempster for 1. So that confirms that Ben Swift is the winner of the King of the Mountains. He cannot be beaten, so that's a nice title won by the 19-year-old from Rotherham.
These rolling roads, you can see it provides some fantastic launch pads for people to use to try and get themselves away. As you can see, the bunch is rolling pretty quick, but as soon as they hit the little bumps, it just creates an opportunity for people to have a go.
Well, we're nearing the first sprint of the day at Drumlanrig Castle, and this, of course, is the opportunity for the French sprinter, for you, to try and pick up the 3-second bonus. If he does that, then he will be level with Palomares in the overall standings. So this is a very, very important sprint indeed. And Palomares is a climber, and we'll know he's under pressure here because the Frenchman was second in the World Under-23 Road Championships last year and figured strongly in some of the early Tour de France stages in the gallops at the end. So this is going to be the opportunity for the Agritabel rider to get level in overall standings in general classification with the Spanish rider Palomares. They're getting very close to it now. Who is going to do the leading out? Fayou will be looking for one of his teammates to help him. And here we are, he's gone himself over the cattle grid and he's burying himself. He knows that this could win him the Tour of Britain. Oh, he's left the rest for dead. Look at this, the importance of the sprint is being reflected as we get a great shot there of Drumlanrig Castle. Fayou getting that quite comfortably and a 3-second bonus. And that is so important because it means now he is level then with Palomares on the general classification standings. And going to count back in the prologue, it means actually he is 0.49 in front of the Spaniard on overall general classification. So if the Spaniard and his team cannot find a recipe then to get back level, this Frenchman is going to become the winner of this Tour of Britain.
Well, this peloton, Hugh, is absolutely blown to pieces. I think what you could tell there was that the Agritabel guys were riding really quickly, trying to lead out Fayou, and it's worked, but it's the damage that it's created behind is fairly phenomenal, Hugh.
Glorious countryside here, and all the riders grovelling to get into the pace of the wheel in front as the bunch starts to come back together. But I'm just waiting for the first serious attack. That's Ben Swift, the leader on the King of the Mountains competition. He's wearing a long-sleeve jersey today to try and keep warm. Skill Shimano presence there, and they're all back together. We're heading on now towards the second climb of the day. This is Whiteside Hill, and this, just like the previous one, is another third category counter. Taking that right-hander nice and comfortably. The route well marshalled all the way. It's a good route. It's been designed by Graham Jones, former Tour de France rider, and of course the technical director Mick Bennett. They put their wise heads together, and it has given us a superb racing route throughout the whole of the country. There's the yellow jersey, Palomares, and he knows he's got a serious problem on his hands.
You could see the guys there having to really slow down on the bends. They're quite cold and very damp, so that's going to take a bit more out of the legs.
Little group getting clear here. This is a break beginning to develop. That's Mascan to the Rabobank team on the right, and Comesso is there. He's looking back. He's on the Tinkoff team. And these three are beginning to, four in fact, are beginning to move clear. There's a rider from Chocolate Jack there as well, Hooverlink. And these are the dangerous moves that need an eye keeping on all of the time. We've got somebody here as well from Skill Shimano, and it's beginning to fragment significantly here as they pedal across this open section.
This is one of those pieces of road that I was saying that the guys will use their launch pad off, and as we can see, the damage created again behind is pretty big.
He's an attack by a Great Britain rider. That's Paul Manning, actually. He really has been very aggressive over the last 3 days. Ats Comesso sat at the back, a real Italian comedian who's had an astonishing career, probably in the twilight of his career now, but he's a big sprinter, and if this group is allowed to get clear, he will take some stopping for a third stage victory for the Tinkoff team. But here comes Manning. Good move by Paul Manning.
Paul really is on fire at the moment. As we've said, this is his third day now out at the front of the peloton. So I know Paul, and he'll be enjoying himself this week.
Certainly is. It's not decisive. The main peloton are about 200 metres back, but if they allow these to slip away, this is the ideal move then to set them up for a tilt at a stage victory in Glasgow. One or two others trying to come across, and the Skill Shimano rider looking back as much as to say, I don't think this is going to stick.
There's a lot of panic going on behind at the front of the peloton. Lots of people can see that this move could go away, so they all want a piece of the action.
Looks like the skilled Shimano rider at the back. He's going to drop back, but Manning is persisting here at the front. He's a world-class team pursuiter and individual pursuiter, and throughout his career he's had some pretty handy road performances as well. He rides on the Landbrouw Credit team in Belgium, so he gets a wealth of continental preparation. This is the start of the second climb of Whiteside Hill. It's another third category affair, and Manning looks as though he's got wings on his wheels here. He's pedalling away from them.
He's not hanging around for anyone today. He really wants to keep the pressure on, and if anyone comes with him, then fair enough. But if not, he'll be happy to be out there on his own. Well,
he personifies style and class, smooth, effortless pedalling technique. This, of course, is the hallmark of a pursuiter, and he's going it alone. It's an early strike for home, believe me, but maybe one or two will come across. He's had a tilt at trying to win a stage on several occasions over the years. He's always been denied the top spot, but he's figured quite strongly in the action, and now Manning is leading the charge up this hill and looking very, very good. He takes the 4 points at the top, and he is actually currently second overall in the King of the Mountains competition. But the question you've got to ask yourself here, is he going to continue? I would have thought it would have been better to sit up and wait for the rest of the break that he's pedalled away from.
Yeah, it looks like he's just freewheeling a bit, taking on a bit of food, and hopefully the group behind, and as we say that, yes, they've caught him, and they're all together. So this should be a nice group now. Hopefully they're still got a few seconds ahead of the bunch.
So the five have now linked up, and Manning is looking very, very comfortable. He is actually going to retire after the Beijing Olympics, so another medal at the Olympics and probably a stage win today would be a nice bonus to add onto his already very impressive CV. This is the feeding station.
This is one of the most dangerous parts of the race now, where all the soigneurs are hanging out with the bags, and the riders all come in, and there's often crashes.
Well, the roads are drying out now, and the wind is becoming a little more favourable, and so these five can settle down to a high-speed approach to the finish in Glasgow. And Camesso, the experienced stocky little Italian, saying to the rest, come on, we need to keep working evenly here, as they're getting towards the second hotspot sprint at Gelspin. They'll have covered 53.5 miles when they get there. On the front is Maskant in the white jersey, but it looks like the rider from Chocolate Jacks will take the maximum points, Heuvelink, and so that will not affect the overall standings. So there is the result confirmed. Heuvelink did take the 5 points from Maskant, Manning third, and Camesso in fourth place. Well, the bunch are not too bothered about this move. It certainly suits the key players for the overall classification. Aerial shot then of the group working consistently, and the speed increasing significantly.
We can see here, Hugh, the wind will be coming from the left, so all the riders are moving up out of the wind, and the riders moving back down the left-hand side, protecting the riders coming up.
And one of the team cars has just been up to talk to their rider.
Yeah, he'll be giving them information, giving them a bit more information of what's happening behind, and just a little bit of encouragement. You know, this is a good group.
This is the third and final sprint of the day at Straven, and Camesso took that, the Italian, but it means that Mark Cavendish has clinched the hotspot sprint competition overall, from Zach Dempster, the Australian, and Pete Royackers in third place.
The bunch now is really moving. As you can see, it's just one long line. Everyone trying to protect themselves. This could be interesting. Whether this group can now stay away, because this peloton really is working hard.
Well, they've had an advantage of over 2.5 minutes, the five riders, but it's too mobile at the front that's beginning to tow the field along now.
Yeah, I think Cav's going for that record, Pataki's record of 11 wins.
If he did win the stage in Glasgow, then he would certainly be level with the great Italian sprinter. But the five are still working consistently. Camesso up the front there, and Manning taking on the role of the pace setting, and he must surely be thinking about this stage victory that has eluded him. He's tried so many times but never been able to get on that top spot. but I think he's going to have to get away because Comesso is the big sprinter in the group there. Yellow jersey coming right to the front of the peloton now. He must surely be thinking, if we can get the 5 back, there are still bonuses, 10, 6 and 4 on the line. Maybe I could give them the slip and get one of those bonuses and jump back over Fayou as leader.
Yeah, I mean, his team director is going to be on the radio telling him exactly what's happening, so it's panic stations.
It's his only chance, isn't it?
I certainly wouldn't want to be in his position at the moment.
Neither would I. So we're now actually into the city of Glasgow, weaving our way through the roads that will eventually bring us to the finish. Now then, Mascant is on the front. Comesso sits second wheel. And just to reiterate my comment, they have got to get away because this fella on the front packs the biggest punch when it comes to the gallop for the line. And Manning, with his pursuing skills, if he could just give the group the slip and drop into his rhythm, might just set about trying to get a lone victory. Chocolate Jack coming to the front. He's got to sort of think about trying to get away, hasn't he, Rob, if he wants to bid for victory?
Yeah, we could see yesterday where he led the breakout. You know, Paul, he's a fast rider, but he certainly hasn't got a punchy sprint, so he's not going to want to leave it to the very end.
Salvatore Comesso certainly has got a punchy sprint.
He has, and he will be wanting. He'll be watching and hoping that it all stays together for sure.
So on the front is Lars Bak, the talented Danish rider. Swings over, then it's Comesso. Manning coming through. This is how they do it, taking their turns evenly to keep the pace high. And let's have a look at the head of the main field. Well, it still looks like T-Mobile doing the towing.
Yeah.
They're starting to close it down rather quickly. Now then, if they did pull the 5 back and it came down to a bunch sprint, well, who'd bet against Mark Cavendish for another stage victory? Mascant on the front in the white jersey. You saw the flick of the elbow. That is the professional signal to say, I'm moving over, it's your turn to come through.
Yeah, these guys, they all know that the peloton is coming down on them very quickly, so they're all going to be taking their turn and really putting it in for the finish.
It's Clyde on the right, and of course this long stretch of tarmac, the carpet of tarmac that leads to the finish, holds the drama ahead. We really don't know what the outcome's going to be. Palomares in this group would dearly love to see the group back, and that would leave him just a distant chance of picking up a bonus. Now then, here they are again, the 5. And they must all be thinking now then, shall we make a move? How can we try and give the rest the slip? Manning looks okay to me.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of thought processes going through these guys' minds at the moment. They know they're within striking distance of the finish, but they also know that these guys are coming at them from behind.
So look out for the element of surprise. If you are going to try and risk an attack, you want to try and jump clear from about 3 back and catch the rest by surprise. A long thin line here at the front of the field, which tells us that the screw is being turned and the pace is lifting.
This peloton they're going to be travelling at around 37, 38 miles an hour. And this group, obviously, they've been out there for quite a while. They're all starting to look at each other now. This is going to be touch and go.
They can't afford to mess about, and it's Lars Bak that's gone to the front and looked as though he's beginning to gather himself for an attack. So the 5 at the front are starting to try and outwit each other as the tempo here on the head of the main peloton is still going quicker and quicker. This is going to go down to a grandstand finish in Glasgow Green.
You can see Cav's got himself there in 5th place on the T-Mobile wheel. That's probably Roger Hammond in front of him, his final lead-out man. So they're putting all the pieces together, Hugh.
Certainly are, but it's the 5, of course, that we feel we got to concentrate on here. And again, Mascant comes to the front. The pace is eased back, hasn't it, significantly? You can't afford to mess about, lads. That big peloton will swallow you up. That's Hooverlink now coming through, and he looks across and nobody wants to take it on. Comesso in the yellow and black for Tinkoff. Well, he seems to be the man that's going to try and raise the pace again.
This could all go pear-shaped now for this group. They really are messing around, and they just can't afford to do that at this point in the race.
Green jersey of Romain Fayou is near the front as well. And of course, if they did come back together, then he would be one of the men in with a serious chance of grabbing a time bonus. The yellow jersey had moved up on the outside of him as well. 1 kilometre to go. Oh, look at this. Manning's launching an attack on the outside. Well, that's a perfect move. He's caught the rest by surprise. Camesso is gesticulating to the others as much as to say, come on, contribute to the pace. But Manning attacked perfectly there. He was 3 or 4 back, caught the rest by surprise and jumped away. Main peloton are now under the red kite, so they've got less than 1 kilometre to go. Now then, can Paul Manning hang on to the lead? He really is motivated. He's settling down to the job in hand. Big crowd here waiting for the arrival of the survivors of this year's Tour of Britain, and Manning has got the advantage. He's in the finishing funnel. Now then, is he finally going to achieve what he's been trying to do in the last 3 Tour of Britons? He's been in leading groups, never managed it, but I tell you what, he's managed it this time. And Manning, the double Commonwealth Games gold medalist, takes the stage victory in Glasgow. Here comes the big sprint for second, and it looks like the stocky Italian Camesso getting second over the line, and Hooverlink third. Now let's have a look at the sprint at the head of the peloton, and this is Mark Cavendish coming over the line wearing the hotspot sprint jersey, and Cavendish has tidied that competition up, and those valuable points could see him also winning the green jersey. He may well deny for you the green jersey as well, but there's the winner of the stage. Paul Manning finally wins our stage in the Tour of Britain, and he timed that move to perfection.
That was a typical move by Paul. You know, he got himself clear, and then he didn't look back until he knew he'd got the win.
Great Britain's Paul Manning rounding off a fantastic tour for the British riders, winning the final stage in Glasgow ahead of Salvatore Camesso, who won the most aggressive rider award for the day. The peloton just failing to catch the breakaway riders. The first overall jersey was decided on the first climb of the day, when Great Britain's Ben Swift was confirmed winner of the Eon King of the Mountains competition, Paul Manning finishing in second. So a special moment for the young rider from Yorkshire, wearing the polka dot jersey in his first Tour of Britain.
Yeah, it's been really good. The racing's just been really positive. It's just been a great race to be part of. So.
And how have you felt in yourself?
Yeah, quite good actually. This year's gone really well for me. I just felt myself getting stronger and stronger, and then just to come here and perform in front of a home crowd, it's been pretty special really.
The sprints competition saw another talented British rider take top honours, Mark Cavendish just 2 points ahead of 19-year-old Australian Zachary Dempster. And the Manxman also finished top of the points competition for the second year, taking it on the final sprint from Roman Fayou.
It would have been nice to get on the stage today, but I couldn't have gone to a better person with Paul, you know, and my team once again gave 100%, gave such a perfect job. It was just unfortunate we didn't have much help from other teams, you know, till towards the end, and we just didn't catch the group back, but, you know, we got the 2 jerseys, so yeah, it's all worthwhile anyway.
So Cavendish back on the podium after earning the yellow jersey in Crystal Palace on the opening day of the Tour.
Oh, it's brilliant, you know, to be able to come here and win 2 stages, you know. I think the people who come out and support the event deserve it, I think, so it's nice to be able to do that, you know, and yeah, it would have been nice for another win, but you can't be too greedy, eh?
Overall victory in the 2007 Tour of Britain goes to Roman Fayou of Agri-Tubel. No stage wins, but a tactically perfect ride from the Frenchman to beat Adrian Palomares by the slimmest of margins.
Yes, of course. I was happy with Crystal Palace because I wasn't too far back. Each day I tried to get some bonus seconds, but early on the racing was quite hard. Yesterday I was able to get away a bit on one of the hills, and today I got the 3 seconds I needed to take overall.
So for the 4th time in the Tour, the yellow jersey has a new owner, but this is the one that counts. Roman Fayou celebrating a fine win on Glasgow Green. Well, what an amazing finish to this year's Tour. After 950 kilometres of racing, the yellow jersey has been decided by just a few fractions of a second, and a great day for the British riders too. That's where we leave the Tour of Britain, but there's more cycling coming up on the BBC in a couple of weeks' time, featuring some of the biggest names in the sport.
I'm a road racer at heart.
Stuttgart is very important for me.
We start looking at, the World Championships.
My big ambition is for the road race. I'd really love to win the rainbow jersey.
It's great to see so many people out watching the Tour of Britain this year.
It always comes back for me to the Olympics.
It's always a great honour for me just to ride with the British cycling guys. It's like I have so much fun. And it's a level of professionalism that I don't get with my pro teams.
We had the success on the track for the last few years, and now there's so much success coming from the road.
In 2 weeks' time, there will be more road cycling on the BBC, with all the races live on BBC Interactive and highlights on the Sunday.